Division of Communication and Performing Arts.
Hello, welcome to This is Bipsy. Here on the show today, I have two incredible filmmakers who have made a short film that will be entered into the Louisiana Film Prize. In fact, it's already entered and it will be showing there October 4th between October 8th. So, of course, you guys make movies for a living. And I assume you've been doing this for some time now. Do you have one moment that you can sort of pinpoint your passion to where it all sort of, I guess, started snowballing from there? One moment where you said, this is what I want to do with my future and with my life.
I think for me, I kind of fell in love with movies as a kid. I didn't necessarily know that that's what I wanted to do, but with when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, I was such a big fan, and I absolutely fell in love with movies. And then I actually met Colby, who was a filmmaker, when I was a little bit older, and sort of got into it with him. But I know he has a good story for.
Yeah, so I've been into film my whole life, and then I didn't know what I wanted to do whenever I was getting out of high school, and then but I was always into art. And then in 2005, Peter Jackson's King Kong came out, and I went to the movies to see it 8 times, and I knew the first time that I wanted to make movies after I watched that. And so that's been 12 years now, and so I've been making movies ever since, and then got her on board.
Awesome. And then after sort of that rush struck and that you knew that that was what you wanted to do, at what point and what sort of steps did you take to capitalize on that passion? What were your first steps in filmmaking?
Well, for me, I couldn't really, same as a lot of people, I couldn't afford to just pick up an expensive camera and shoot something. So I got small, local, like little consumer cameras, and I started making YouTube videos, and I wanted to teach myself how to make films. So I started just making anything I could. I started making sketch comedy videos and teaching myself how to do everything. And eventually I learned about the Louisiana Film Prize, and I decided to make my first real short for the Louisiana Film Prize in 2013. And then this will be our 5th year making films for the Film Prize.
Yeah. I think for me, the very first thing that I did was when I was in college, my school did a college film festival where they gave you the camera, they gave you the equipment, and they just let students kind of have a go at making their first film. And I did it and absolutely fell in love with it, and I haven't stopped making movies since. So. Yeah.
And now you've made kind of all these steps up the ladder until finally you've had what for now is your most latest film, Candyland. So if you can introduce us to the world of Candyland, the Candyland, what is this film about?
Candyland is about 2 representatives of the Jupiter Candy Company that are coming to their last stop for the night at Grimley Grocery to check with the management about a few things. And they are not your regular representatives, and things kind of go not according to plan.
Yeah, I know with writing it, it was very inspired by like films by the Coen brothers and
Fargo.
Fargo specifically, Tarantino. We wanted to do something that was fun, that was exciting, that had a complex,
dialogue.
Interesting story with good dialogue. So without giving away too much, it's sort of a dark, comedic crime drama.
Yeah, it's a ride, definitely.
It is.
So you mentioned Tarantino, Coen brothers, and people like that. Was there any other points of inspiration, or was there a specific moment when you sort of got the idea for the film, or like sort of the genesis, I guess, of the film itself?
Yeah, we actually were inspired by sort of true events. There's a practice called slotting with grocery stores, which is basically paying for shelf space. And we saw a court case where someone was so terrified for their safety, that they were behind this frosted glass window.
Their voice was scrambled.
Their voice was scrambled, and we thought, you know, if
this is just for ice cream.
Yeah, if something was that crazy, imagine what we could do with it, you know, with a film. So
yeah,
that was sort of our inspiration for the film.
Okay, and we're just gonna go right to as far as the acting of the film itself, because I mean, as you guys know, picking your team and especially picking your actors is one of, if not the biggest part of directing itself, just really picking the people you're surrounding yourself with. So who did you pick for your roles, and then why did you pick them? Was there anybody who you knew immediately, that's the guy, or, you know, what's your story on that?
Well, our lead actor, Alex Daphnis, we actually wrote his part for him. We've been working with Alex. We worked on him with one project, and we knew how incredible he was. And then as soon as Candyland came to mind, we had the part for him, and we wrote it directly for him.
Yeah, with some of the other characters, specifically another actor friend of ours, Chris Evans, we had sort of written this part with him in mind, but whenever we cast him, we wrote the dialogue specifically for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely have a good team that we've been fortunate enough to work with. A big part of it is thanks to the Louisiana Film Prize, and we continue to you know, play on their strengths, and I think we have a really good team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
so Chris Evans as in Captain America?
No. Local Houghton high school graduate, Chris Allen Evans.
Okay, okay. Just making sure, you know, I wasn't sure about that. So you were saying, Colby?
No, our crew, you know, started out for the Louisiana Film Prize in 2013 as like 3 people. And now, like, we've made a film for the Film Prize every year, and now we've been able to grow a crew of like 20 or more now, people that like we've been able to network with because of the Louisiana Film Prize, and actors we've been able to meet, producers, investors we've been able to meet, and this was our first film that we actually didn't have to pay for with our own money.
So how did you get the funds for this movie?
We actually did a crowdfunding campaign through Indiegogo. We were able to raise 100% of the funds for the film through that, and yeah, it's changed the way that we make movies.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Not having to save up and spend all of our extra money, or, you know, money for bills or whatever to make a movie is always a good thing. So
you said that the film takes place in a store. The majority of the film takes place in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Where was that store at, like an actual physical location?
It was in Ringgold, Louisiana, which is about 45 minutes from here, 45 minutes south.
It's a really cool, like, very old school grocery store. Everything looks like it could be from like the 70s, which is kind of what we were going for, sort of an ambiguous, not necessarily 70s, not necessarily present day kind of feel. And it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And they were kind enough to let us come in. We shot overnight. So I think we shot for a total of 3 days. You know, we started at sundown and we shot until sunrise.
Right.
So yeah. So but it was absolutely perfect. It worked out so well.
So was that the first grocery store you looked at, or was there sort of like a criteria that you could apply to a couple of places?
There were multiple. You know, filming, you know, an independent film at a grocery store, you know, you can't pay. We couldn't pay to have it closed down in the middle of the day. So our options are automatically limited by that. Then we have to find grocery stores that are willing to let us come in and film for next to nothing, if not nothing. And then also grocery stores that we can come in and film overnight that just fit. So our options were very limited, but luckily we found the Super Value in Ringgold, and it was a miracle. It worked out perfectly.
So soon here we'll be going to the trailer here. Is there anything you want to do to introduce us to this trailer before we see it?
Ooh, what do you think?
No, we just hope you guys enjoy the trailer. It's a tease. You know, there's no dialogue. There's very little dialogue in it, but you know, we really want people to get excited for it, and I think the energy of the trailer really reflects the energy of the film.
Definitely.
Yeah. You can see it playing at the Louisiana Film Prize this October 5th through the 8th
Yes.
in Shreveport, Louisiana. So hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
And we will cut to that trailer right now.
Even what can I do you two gentlemen for?
Well, wasn't that fantastic? So after that trailer and after this break, we will be returning, and these two will sadly be gone, but in their place, as you witnessed in the trailer, will be the lead actor, Alex Daphnis, and we'll run through everything he did to prepare for this role. So see you after the break.
The love of quality and responsiveness and efficiency is really quite a breakthrough in mobile display. This is the first OLED display iPhone should work, and how we can, when you want to go to the home screen, you simply swipe up from the bottom and you go home. Great experience with it as well. This is
Here is iPhone 10. Now, unlocking it is as easy as looking at it. It's just a beautiful canvas for all of your content and your gestures. And I'm just going to go into the weather app here. iPhone.
the love of quality and responsiveness and efficiency is really quite a breakthrough in mobile display. This is the first OLED display iPhone should work, and how we can, when you want to go to the home screen, you simply swipe up from the bottom and you go home. Great experience with it as well. This is
Here is iPhone 10. Now, unlocking it is as easy as looking at it. It's just a beautiful canvas for all of your content and your gestures. And I'm just going to go into the weather app here.
Lots of people joke about being addicted to their pumpkin spice lattes. Turns out it is possible to be biologically addicted to the popular spice blend, which actually doesn't usually contain pumpkin. Typically, pumpkin spice contains ground cinnamon, dried ginger, nutmeg, and clove or allspice. These spices, alone or in combination, are often associated with the holidays and family. But with pumpkin spice addiction, there's more involved than just a psychological association. Experts say that when that recognizable pumpkin spice scent is combined with sugar, people learn to associate the smell with the pleasure that comes from consuming it. Literally, your body learns to recognize that spice combination and crave it. Experts say it's not quite the same neural mechanism involved in drug addiction, but when it comes to pumpkin spice, the more you consume, the more you want to consume. For today's Health Minute, I'm Kim Hutcherson.
This is Bibsy, brought to you by Division of Communication and Performing Arts.
Welcome back to This is Bibsy. This time we're here with the leading actor of Candyland, Mr. Alex Daphnis, the actor.
Right.
So I guess what we should start off is the origin story of your acting. Where did your desire to act come from? Is that something you always had within you, or did it start at a specific time in your life?
I feel like I've always felt pretty close to just performing and making noise. And I mean, I grew up in a household with 2 sets of twins and then a little sister, so it was a big family, and I always wanted to hog all the attention.
And so when that sort of moved out of the house, what was your first actual, I guess we could say, traditional acting effort?
Well, I was involved from a young age with a program called TIb Young Audiences, which is run from a theater up in Coldwater, Michigan, which I'm from Indiana originally. But what we've done is, what they've done there rather, is create a good sound environment using like local volunteers to make sure that kids can get started stage acting. So they're usually parodies of more popular plays and slimmed down versions, you know. But it's always, that's how I got my start.
So what was your first role in one of those plays? My
first role was, well, my favorite, probably the one that mattered the most to me was when I played a fairy godfather in a play called Twinderella. It was a musical, and I got to sing like Marlon Brando, and as well as he sings. We're all familiar with that. But yeah, it was really fun. I was pretty excited to get all the attention that I was getting, so I decided to keep pursuing that, and that continued throughout high school.
After, at a certain point, you kind of made the step from acting on stage to acting on screen. When did that occur?
First, when I moved to Shreveport and got involved with the LA Film Prize, I was in a film called Stall. It was my first experience acting on screen, and it was a learning experience for sure. I had to kind of tone down a lot of what I was doing with stage performance and everything. Otherwise, it's very big. You know, it comes off as a little over-enthusiastic.
So for this role, how would you describe this role itself, and sort of, I guess, how you prepared for this role?
Well, I prepared by, well, after reading the role and understanding the script and knowing that I was due for Gerlich, I was pretty attached to the idea of like his righteous anger and a lot of his different explosions and things like that. And because of that, I accepted the role. But that's not what you asked.
I was just, yeah, who is Gerlich? Who is Gerlich in your
words?
Gerlich
is, he's an enforcer. He goes between higher ups and the lower downs, as it were, I guess. And he makes sure everything runs smoothly.
So you prepare for this role, you said, just sort of attaching yourself to the self-righteousness. What is your usual, I guess, modus operandi of sort of preparing for any role? Or is it sort of, I guess, tailored specific to each role?
I guess you could say a fair amount is tailored to each role, but what I always start with is reading the script over and over and over and making sure I know it as well as I can. That is as exciting as it gets for most of the roles. But when you get into the meat of more exciting roles like criminals and you know, people who are a little bit shaky, freaky characters, that's when it gets really interesting.
So what is different about those roles in particular?
Those roles in particular,
I
think that there's some fraction that kind of exists within everybody, or at least some desire to connect with the idea of being able to snap and not exist in your reality, no longer lend to that. And because of that appeal, it can be very easy to want to kind of linger in the character, you know? Not to say to get too attached, nothing like method acting.
So, oh yeah, you mentioned method acting, which is a popular. Have you ever used that as a method, or?
No. I think you need to have a lot more money, a lot of money, to do something like method acting, especially when it comes to just getting it for the sake of realism. When you're working on screen, everything is that much closer, you know. Makeup is going to go a far way, but obviously having the character there with those scars, with those wounds or whatever, that's a totally different story, and apparently that can heighten certain parts of certain stories. Overall, I'm not as fond of the method acting and how popular it's gotten.
Oh yeah, like guys like Jared Leto and
you. Yeah, Jared Leto. I mean, there's one person who did it right, and that's Daniel Day-Lewis, as far as I know. I know other actors have compared it, but it just gets into a bit of like competition. It's just measuring how much inhuman amounts of money you can spend on dedicating so much time to starving yourself, only using your left foot for a character, or you know, becoming, you know, emotionally abusive to those you love and your friends. Like this is gonna is going to cost a lot. It's going to cost a lot. So I feel like at some level, I do definitely identify with a lot of the characters I play, but only enough that I can get what the camera needs.
Yeah, yeah. So you're talking kind of getting what the camera needs and all that, and I was fortunate enough to actually work on this movie and got to watch you act. And there's a lot of scenes, like you said, Gerlich is a very angry character, and there's a lot of scenes where you kind of go on an emotional tirade, and you reach this crazy high point of anger, and then Colby would say cut, and it's just back to Alex. So what is that like to constantly be surging up to these crazy high points, coming down to this kind of calm demeanor, and then going back and trying to reach that high point all over again?
I mean, you're just constantly chasing it from the first take. You're constantly chasing that initial thrill. It's awesome, not only to be able to reach a level where you are not certain what the character is capable of or their grip on reality. So I think, I don't know, it's intoxicating. You kind of zone out after a minute in a take where a character is getting really hot and really intense. I think it's easy to just kind of lose yourself in that. I got off track.
No, I don't think there's really a track for this interview.
Oh, good. Then there will be no remix.
So there's another question I've always, because you were talking about the initial thrill. When you say the initial thrill, do you mean the first take?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there something special about kind of first takes as far as in relation to other takes? That's something that I've always wondered.
Personally, I feel like my first take, in the moment, that's it, man, you got it. As the actor, I've always felt like, oh, that first take was excellent. And of course, that's not always the case when it comes down to it. But the point is, I think, to begin on a really solid, positive note. And as long as you can feel like that take was the take, that's all you need.
And so we were kind of looping back to the thing about kind of always reaching that high point of anger, and you were talking just like different roles. Have you ever had, because I read this anecdote, something Al Pacino said whenever he was acting on a couple of Sidney Lumet movies like Dog Day Afternoon, Serpico. If his character was in a bad mood for that scene, or the scenes that day, he would be rude, like extremely rude to the crew. But if his character was in a good mood that day, he would be like an angel. So, I mean, obviously, I don't expect that you would do that to that degree, but like, does your roles ever start to kind of creep into, Alex land, that?
I mean, yeah, now and again, but I think it's part of your tools as being an actor to make sure that you're not letting anything that you are going to put yourself through or anything you might say that is, after all, the whole point of acting.
Yeah.
And that might sound a little strong, but at the same time, it very much applies.
Yeah.
It's part of what you are as an actor to make sure you're not abusing everybody around you on set and stuff. I think it's kind of a privilege that some people have to be able to exist like somewhere between an artist and being human, where you can go around and I think it's reckless.
Acting itself?
I think acting and not being able to disconnect from the role properly.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm saying. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, I guess you were saying that kind of like to be able to, I guess that all kind of comes into what you were saying about method and
it's too far.
Yeah.
Overall, it's just such an intense, it's like athleticism to some degree, where it's like how far can we push ourselves and how far can we push those around us, and that's not really what it's about. I think acting overall should foster positive energy and be an enjoyable experience, and no matter if it's a real hot take or a smooth take or whatever the scene might call for, you should be a pleasant person.
Yeah, I guess you could say that the responsibility of being a person kind of plays into the responsibility of being,
you got to be
an actor.
You got to be a pretty kind person first. I think you should want to work on that priority wise. I mean, not to say we hold all humans to the same standard, but when you are talking about acting.
On Candyland, we sort of great tangent.
Oh, no, it's so cute. It's so cute.
As far as Candyland, are there some really memorable moments that you had as far as working on this that sort of stick out in your mind?
In between takes, I got to ride around on the basket carts that you can control, the electric ones. Those had to be undoubtedly, I think everybody would agree, the highest point of the entire shoot. But underneath that would be any and all of my interaction with Christopher Allen Evans. He's just a bright, shining star. He's a wonderful man. A really good worker, excellent actor, and my first experience with him so far. And yeah, I wish he were here. No.
No, and then sadly we don't, because I remember somebody had filmed you chasing after Chris in the buggy cart in the grocery store, and that's definitely one of the funniest things that I've seen in my entire life.
He just has, everything he approaches is just such positivity. He figured out that VHS app that people use to get all excited about, to make it look like you're filming in the 90s or whatever. And he just had a heyday. He was telling everybody about it. He was like, look at what we did.
And me and him, we did a faux advertisement for his character on set when we were sort of in break time. That was that was a blast.
No, that was hilarious. I think y'all let me be a part of that, didn't you?
Because there was a part where you were kind of holding him.
Oh, that's right. That's when I've got it. It's business time.
That was the ending.
It's business time.
And that is also, sadly, having to be the ending of this show. So.
We're on a show.
Yes, in case you forgot.
So you've been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you also to Alex being here and everybody on Candyland, Colby and Taylor, for just not only doing that but making this film. And
this is Bipsy.
This is Bipsy.